Hello, welcome back to Plan B Works. This is Vanessa. I'm so happy that you could join us. For today's card, we will be deviating from our usual colorful palette and instead use neutral tones. Now, some people think that using neutral tones for cards are intended for male recipients, as they might refer to a fabric that is commonly used for ties or men's shirt, but it is neutral, so you can use it for any occasion and definitely give it to anyone you like. I already have my cardstock strips ready. However, you can see they are by no means perfect. They are all irregular in length. However, they are about the same size in width, about a quarter of an inch. They are short, so I decided to use a slimline card base. It measures about 3 3/4 by 9 1/4, and by using these strips, I feel that that size would work best. I also decided to line down these strips diagonally instead of vertically because some of them are short, and diagonally would create a little bit more interest than the usual vertical orientation. But in the end, it's all up to you how your design works best. I will also be using this stamp set called Enjoy the Ride from Honeybee Stamps. It has a lot of really cute images and sentiments that you can use for many occasions. It also comes with coordinating dies to make your work a lot easier and faster. Now, I thought about using my Pink Fresh Perfect Sentiment stamp set, but I realized that it's one block of stamps and that might not work for my slimline card here, so maybe another project. Now, in creating strips like this as a background, some people feel that they want to put a lot of adhesive or glue at the panel and then sticking the strips one by one might be faster. But for me, I find it more efficient to glue the strips individually and one at a time. But no matter how you do it, whichever is easier for you will be best. Just make sure that you stick individual strips as close to each other as possible so you can avoid all those little white streaks from the background. Otherwise, it's going to ruin your design completely. So just be careful with that. And now that I have all my strips of cardstock lined up diagonally, you can tell that it's not perfect at all. But what I'm going to do is cut this to the panel size that I will use it for, and that way all the excesses will just trimmed off right away. Now here I have the panel that I want my background strip to be, and I'm just going to trace that off. This is just about an inch smaller than my card base, so that's maybe about 3 by 8, I'd say. But it's really up to you how you want to do it, because I want a little bit of border for my background panel and maybe an extra panel later on, so we will see. So now I'm just gonna go and trim this to the size that I need it to be, and then maybe, like I said, use another panel in the background, and you can see I have about a quarter of an inch border from my card base, and then another quarter of an inch border from my stripe panel background. I'm also going to cut out these rectangle and circle shapes from my stripe background panel because I decided to create dimension by sticking some foam tape on the back of these cutouts. I wanted to create dimension without making too much change because the pattern, I think, is already busy. Although I love the neutral colors, I feel like there's too much going on already, and I wanted my images to pop without overpowering the background, if that makes sense. So I'm just making sure that all the little strips that I already stuck on earlier just stays there. And so I am just adjusting the strips here and there, making sure that everything lines up, everything stays in place before I actually stick on the images that I will be using. There you go. Looks like everything is well and good. And before I put that together, I will be stamping on my images. So for this stamp set, I've decided to use the bunnies on a tandem bike. Oh my goodness, I can't get over how cute they are. And then I'm going to use the sentiment that says, my best adventures are the ones I have with you. So again, you could use so many sentiments in this set that can go for different occasions. I've also decided to use a lot of the smaller images like the carrot, the wine bottle, the flowers, the shades, the ribbon. I feel like the background was already so neutral that wanted to find an opportunity to insert some color. And I feel like by choosing all of these little tiny elements that I will be able to do so. Now I will be using these gray tones for the bunnies. And then you can see here that I have a ton of colors. And I'll be using my Ohuhu alcohol markers for this. These are actually colors that I rarely or if not never used before. And I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to brighten up the card, even if I'm using a very neutral background. So there will not be a whole lot of shading, but definitely a lot of color. I will use shading when it's necessary, but for all of these little bits that you can see, I'm using this bright pink for the flower, some blues and yellows. But for everything else, I will not be using a whole lot of shading. So that cuts my time in half. And at the same time, I just want you guys to enjoy coloring. Now, I said I was using alcohol markers for this project, but whatever medium you are most comfortable to use or whatever medium is more fun for you to use, then by all means go for it. What's more important is that you get the desired effect at the end of the coloring process. And like I said, I am just going to add a little bit of shading here and there, a little bit of highlight where it's necessary, but not really overthinking it. What matters is that you create a little bit of dimension and in the end the effect that you really want it to have. So after I've cut out all my pieces, I'm just gonna assemble the elements of the card here, these little images, the flowers, the bread, and the carrot, and these sunglasses. Eventually I decided to just remove it because this is a die cut. It has a border on the edge, and to me it looked like it was covering the bunny's face, so I just decided to draw that in instead. But for everything else I used it and just decided how best to put all of these little images on the basket. Now it's time to put our card together. I have my striped background ready with my panel, and I am just going to glue that together. Afterwards, I'm going to use foam tape to stick on the back of those images with the cutouts to create that dimension that I wanted. Now, you can see here that I'm using glue instead of my tape runner, mostly because when you want borders that are thin like this, you want some wiggle room whenever you need to adjust it. Make sure that all the borders are equal on all sides. Now, I'm not really good at, perfectly attaching these things or sticking them in, so the glue really helped. Now just taking off the release paper from the foam tape and slowly sticking my images into the background here. Now you have to do this very carefully because we are working with stripes, and if you are a little bit crooked it will show, and that is one of the challenges you have to deal with when working with stripes like these or patterns that have continuity. You just make sure that you do it very slowly. That way there's less room for errors. Now after this, your card is basically done. I am just gonna add a little bit of glitter, a little bit of shine like I always do with all of my cards, and we are done. I know that using neutral tones can be a challenge for some people, but mix it up. Use some warm tones or some cool tones and try to find ways to inject color into your card. And I'm sure that you're going to have so much fun and it'll give you a new perspective on your creativity. Now, I hope that this video inspired you to get crafty today. So try this card and we will see you again next time right here at Plan V Works. So please subscribe for more affordable crafting, resourceful hacks, and easy techniques. Have a great day, everybody.